LBR LBO Brand Summit 2017.
My name's Jonathan Bonsey. I'm delighted to be here in Colombo again. I was just thinking the first time I came to Colombo, I think, was 25 years ago. So it's I've seen an extraordinary change to your cityscape and all the wonderful things that have been going on. And it's really a great pleasure to be here. And thank you, Lakshman, for the invitation. Let me just introduce myself to you, because our business is probably not as well known as BBDO and the other Mullen Lowe agencies and large organizations that are here with us today. Our primary business is in connecting consumers with brands, and we do that in two ways. We do it through design, through the process of design, through design thinking, through design strategy, and through the building, if you like, of the consumer platform physically. So it's the offline world, if you like, that I shall speak to a bit today. And then we have a digital team called Bonsey Jaden, and I'm representing them today. And that, if you like, takes the strategy that's manifest in store, in offices, in service centers, wherever it might be, and then translates that into a digital channel and into a digital set of experiences that support and are manifestations of the original brand strategy. So what I wanted to talk about today is, how does that begin? Okay, thank you. How does that all begin? What are the kind of the rules, if you like, and the tools that we're going to use to be able to get us to that point? So marketing in the time of digital. There are essentially three challenges that I'd like to discuss now. That kind of came out from the original briefing, and they're sort of distillation of key points, I think, that consumers and marketeers, rather, on behalf of consumers, are looking to solve and to provide a way forward for their strategies. First up is that starting point. What is the difference, if you like, between the digital strategy, which everyone's charged with and increasingly familiar with, and the offline strategy that is the other side of the coin, and I shall use that metaphor quite often. How do we translate customer insights into online value propositions? Whatever it is that we learn through whatever the insight derivation tools that we have, whatever we can learn from these, how do we turn those into useful, valuable, ultimately profitable value propositions for consumers? And 2 1s and a 2. I love the numbering here. How do we drive digital strategy to create new value through meaning customer engagement? So a lot of what I'm going to talk about is around customer engagement and around the customer stories and the customer journeys. But let me just start, I think, with one absolute truth. And everyone's going to be saying the same thing today, with a slightly different tone, with a slightly different angle, with a slightly different trajectory, if you like. But this is the truth, that there is no distinction between the on and the offline worlds. So whilst we're all concerning ourselves with, well, is it an online strategy, or how does that translate into digital strategy? The people on the outside looking in, they don't see any distinction there at all. They don't see that as somehow a different thing. And we get so tangled up in our own lexicon, if you like, and the complexity with which we build our systems, that the people on the outside don't have that sense. We're making things too complicated for them, perhaps. But for those people on the outside, the people for whom we are ultimately responsible in the work that we do, there is, if you like, a matrix of interconnected experiences. These things happen together all at the same time, but they're not always as useful or as valuable to each one of those customers, those users, those passengers, as they are for everybody else. It's same, but different. So planning those brand experiences, which is the challenge of everybody in this room, we need a little bit more than the traditional, if this, then that, then therefore, roadmap. We need a flight plan. This is a three-dimensional matrix that we're navigating our way through. And those three-dimensional multiplicities, if you like, the multiplicities of the brand, where those engagement levels are so multi-sensory, so multi-platform, and so, from a temporal perspective, happen in so many different periods and times and engage so many different senses, that a simple kind of join the dots and end up with a TVC is simply not adequate today. That flight plan needs a different way of thinking. everyone's familiar with the line, ever since Don Draper put on his sharp suit and created the idea, or he didn't, but the idea was created that somehow there is this unspoken, this unwritten line that exists through the communications businesses that drives the difference between success and failure, that somehow the line that defines entire business strategies is in any way continuously valid. We have the above the line, and everybody knows what this means, everybody understands what this is about, and we have the below the line. And all the people who work in the below the line industries, of which I am one, understand, if you will, our place in the matrix, and that this is the work that we do and the tools that we use and the way that we speak and the language and the deliverables and products fit into an established and understandable space. Now, if we just tip it 90 degrees, we have an equal dilemma. Online and offline, when does one become the other? When does one stop being one thing and transition into the other? And how do they coexist, and who cares ultimately? We have to think about that. We have to think about what the next level is, which is not a line at all, but rather a circle of interconnected experiences. And if we stop thinking about lines and start thinking about circles, we start to get a little bit closer to how we address those three key challenges that I put up at the beginning. We as organizations need to address this new paradigm. It is a circle rather than a line. We must be organized around the need to create seamless brand experiences that reflects the corporate ambition, certainly, but looking at it from a consumer, user, passenger, visitor experience, that their expectations of the brand through the hardware that they engage with, the software, and ultimately the hardware that allows that brand to be experienced seamlessly everywhere. I said that very few people in this room will be familiar with our work, so I just wanted to frame what it is that we do against basically the structure of an organization that we have. We consider ourselves brand architects of the customer experience. I represent both the green and the blue worlds, that is the digital world and the blue world, and the green world, which is effectively the brand consulting world. And our purpose is to come together to create seamless experiences in physical and digital brand to provide powerful customer engagement. As an organization, we have about 120 members of staff, and we stretch across Southeast Asia. We don't have a presence yet in Sri Lanka and India, but we're very much focused on ASEAN and Australia as where we're providing these services. So the thoughts that we're bringing to the table today, why indeed we've been asked to come, is to give some thinking around what are the strategies that work in the other outlying Asian markets, which are at higher or lower levels of development as compared to where we sit today. And what are the learnings and the practices and the parallels that we can explore and think through so that we can actually figure out how do we take some of that and carry it forward to meet the challenges today. We believe that digital is the key brand driver today. There is no other as strong, as powerful, as ubiquitous as the world of digital. And that's really, if you like, where we come to with this. Because our belief is that the brand sits at the core of every one of the conversations and decisions that you as marketeers need to take. We're not concerning ourselves with the sales funnel and function at this point, but really focusing on what makes that brand important. What is the brand purpose and positioning? Because once we establish that, we have whether it becomes an offline strategy or an online strategy or the two together, it's that purpose and positioning and a clear articulation of that by way of differentiation that gives us the rights and the platform upon which to communicate. The digital tools, the brand identity, that irreducible sort of code, if you like, both verbal and visual, that is the brand that you represent and that you work with. And then how do we, from a digital brand expression, take that DNA and build and promote the brand through the screen formats? And for us, it is a sort of an expanding set of circles. Everyone gets concerned about, so what do we do about digital? But very often they forget about the steps that have to be taken to get to that point before we can concern ourselves with a solution that is digital. So we built a kind of a framework. Sorry, I'm borrowing somebody else's laptop, so the little type sort of has a little jumpy thing that goes on. Join the dots. Which is really based on 4 key principles: insight, strategy, experience, and data. Like I said, everyone's going to be talking the same story today, and this is really our take on this, because what I want to do is to talk about the thinking we have around how to harness these things, put them in the right order, get them to talk to each other, and come up with a solution at the end that makes sense. So there is a loop, as a circle, if you like, that once we eventually generate the data that comes from that set of progressions, it in turn feeds back into insights that then becomes a kind of a learning loop that allows the brand to become more cogent, more relevant as it goes forward. So here's some simple framework stuff. I'm going to bang through it quite quickly. I don't have any videos, so I'm going to keep this keep this shorter. We're looking at insights, and it starts for us with the brand insights, the vision, the pain points. What is it that's causing the business grief? Gentleman earlier on today who said, you know what, we should stop thinking about brand challenges. Businesses have business challenges, and that's it. The challenge we have as the marketing consultants, if you will, or the people within the marketing says, is how to turn those business challenges, use marketing tools to create a better business solution. Fail to do that, and I don't care how many D&AD pencils we win or whatever else, we are dead in the water. So when people talk about marketing is dead, that's the kind of dead if we don't get that business to get sorted. So looking at those current pain points, working to get the goals sorted out, look at competitors' behaviors. We don't operate in a vacuum. Look at what people say about the brand, the sensitivities and the opportunities. Talk to the channel. Very often people kind of ignore the channel because they're not always the most receptive people to get involved with and engage with and get information and insights from. But it's critically important because they are the link between the maker and the taker. And from those insights, we derive the strategy, the key messaging, the big idea, that's big ad stuff, the content strategy, which, as we know, must be always on, the engagement strategy, and the channel strategy. Leads us to, once we sort that out and we have that information and we have that knowledge, we have that insight, we've got that structure, leads us to experience. And then we look at the journey itself. What will be the experience that our customers, our visitors, our viewers, our passengers are going to be having? How comfortable, painful, challenging, sexy, intriguing is that journey going to be? And how do we make it look and behave and sound? How do we then roll that into the digital domain and make that work through the planning process? And then the various engagement mechanics that allow us to continually, drip by drip, day by day, build that set of experiences and the content that the brand is known for. And then the influencers and the activities and all of the communities that get built out as a result of those engagement mechanics. And once we have that, then we can harvest the crucial data, the monitoring processes, the KPIs and the measures of success, and all the various metrics that come from that. So, long answer to short question, how do we transition, if you like, from an offline strategy to an online strategy? It's through the engagement of those 4 stages of that development process. Because for us, there is no difference. It is a circle. There is no difference between the on and the offline. It's just input at different stages in the conversation. Neither right nor wrong, and not even do they have to be sequential. One can come before the other, but they do have to work in tandem so that we can maximize the effectiveness we're looking for. Because for us, digital brand management is no longer customer service and comms management. It's a real focus on the customer journey and the experience that we want them to have through our brand. And it starts with awareness, building that visibility in the market sort of proposition and penetration, if you like, moves to engagement, moves to adoption, ideally, and ultimately builds that sort of love trust, if you will, of advocacy that is the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Now, I don't know if this is going to be a little bit fuzzy, and it's a wordy slide, which I know I shouldn't be putting up there, but there we are. But just to kind of talk through what that means in relation to the various activities that people get obsessed with. Is it content media, and does the digital media support the da-da-da? It is effectively a flow. So as we start with the awareness tools that you all have and your agencies will be providing, we move through the engagement experiences from all the microsites and Instagram and influencers and so on, and all the various micro activities and responsibilities. And as we rise up and go over the top through email marketing, we then finally get people into our stores. And because let's overlook the physicality and the drive towards e-commerce. It's critically important to get the balance of those things right. But as we go through these stores, whether they're online or offline stores, whether it's a website experience or whether it's a bricks and mortar experience, and we get that physical engagement, and we are able to kind of carry that forward into ultimately the advocacy. So the journey is not always linear, but ladies and gentlemen, we believe the interaction is always on. Thank you very much indeed. It was a little bit about our thinking around the principles of how to build a robust brand strategy that comes from the business strategy that has two sides of that coin, the digital face, and the offline physical face. Because as far as your customers are concerned, they are not interested in the difference, they can't spell the difference, and for them it is one singular coin of value, and ultimately that is the brand value. And that's where we want to get to. Thank you very much indeed.